Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mormon Atheist. All right, so welcome, apostate congregation. Today's date is Friday, December 19th, 2025. Okay, so apostates, I want to try something. Give me a second while I unfold this. So I've been talking a lot about these books on my channel, and I give. Well, some of them they're not very long. They're just, they're only, the one that I want to bring to you today is, 118 pages or something like that, right? So I want to read these books to you, right? But I want to do it in a commentary kind of way as it pertains to Mormonism and how, because there's stuff that you apostates, that I don't know, right? m- uh, Most of you have been through the temple ceremonies. I have never been married in the temple, so I don't know what that's like, right? So, as it pertains to Mormonism, when we read these Masonic books and these anti-Masonic books, today I'm going to bring you William Morgan, Light on Masonry. Now, I never, ever, hardly ever even talk about William Morgan, right? But I kind of feel like this is where it all begins, though, is with this book as it pertains to Mormonism, right? So Solomon Southwick has not written his book yet. So this book comes out in 1826. Okay. Solomon Southwick, his book, uh, A Solemn Warning Against Freemasonry, comes out in 1827. And then David Bernard's book comes out in 1829. Okay. What's important here, though, is Solomon Southwick, he starts writing anti-Masonic literature as early as 1805. Okay. So as far as William Morgan goes, and as far as David Bernard goes, their literatures are the only thing that there is, right? So here, I got them right here. So this is Solomon Southwick. It's his book. And then this is Light on Masonry, David Bernard's book. So in order, we have Morgan, Southwick, and Bernard. Okay, these are the three books that we're going to do in a series. We're going to start off with. I'm going to start off with William Morgan tonight, and I kind of just want to see how it goes. If it goes okay, then we'll do more. If it's a complete failure and a bust, who knows? Maybe I'll just at least finish the book out. Yeah, I'll at least finish the book out, and I won't do any more. But yeah. So we'll go like that. So it's going to be an ongoing series, okay? And because some of these books, there's so much information in them that you could do hundreds of podcasts just on one book, just on this one book of alone. You could do hundreds and hundreds of podcasts. And so there's so much information. I figured what better way to do it than to just read it, because most of you are never going to, I mean, let's be honest, most of you are never going to read this book. Okay. So those of you that would, and I know an insane amount of you have read this book. Okay. So what we're going to do is, this is the edition. It's the Kissinger Legacy reprints. Okay. So those of you that want to get this book or already have this book as we go along, you can legit read right along with us, right? And so it's a very, very fascinating insight to Freemasonry, but the similarities to Mormonism are incredibly striking, okay? And so in my mind, the entire anti-Masonic movement turns into the anti-Mormon movement, because Mormonism or anti-Masonry never stops. It just slows down historically, right? And so, yeah, and the links are in these books. It's in the literature, right? And so there's legit so much information that I thought it would be good to just do a hour-long segment or whatever, read whatever, do some commentary, whatever, and just see how it goes, you know, because I mean, if you're an LDS member and I read you this book, particularly these three books, you are going to see Mormonism all over this stuff. If you're into Freemasonry, you are going to get an insight into Mormonism, okay? Like a very deep insight into Mormonism. And then let's see, if you're in the magic world, you know how this all pertains, the Masonic elements to the magic and all this kind of stuff, right? The magic of Solomon, all of that sort of stuff, right? So you're kind of getting a threefer here. And it's really fascinating how this all comes together. And it's done in the literature. That's what I'm saying to you. So, Apostate congregation, like and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, we're going to get pretty heavy into this stuff. So, you know, get ready, buckle up, because this is some phenomenal stuff. And one thing is very important here, Apostate congregation, is I need your feedback, okay? Because like I said before, I've never been married in the temple, so I don't know what that ceremony is like, right? I mean, I know all the stories, I know all this kind of stuff as an outsider, right? But I've, you know, when my family members get married, I don't get to go there. You know, I get to go outside and take pictures. That really sucked, man. I got all dressed up, and the only thing I could do is take pictures. I felt like I missed the wedding. I was like, geez, this sucks, you know. Oh, well, there's a reception at the, you know, later on at the in the meeting room. I forget what it's called, the gym in the church, right? Jeez. I was disappointed in that. So, anyways, Apostate congregation, you're gonna see stuff, okay? So your feedback and your comments is important, and it's also important for the future viewers that might be also thinking, you know, hey, this is weird, this is strange, you know, so they have references, you know, that they're not the only ones, because I know some of you message me about this stuff all the time. So absolutely comment, okay? Not during the live, because I don't keep my comments on, because they're very, very distracting, okay? So I can't even see your comments right now. Okay, but thank you for your comments anyways. So what else is there? There is, before we get started here, you know, I just want to reinforce, I certainly do not know everything. So I'm going to read this, and there might be stuff, like I'm going to pick up on stuff, and I'm going to say, hey, check this out. Hey, pay attention to this. Hey, look at this, compare that, whatever. But like I said, I don't know it all. I haven't been to some of these ceremonies that you have within the church, right? And the temple ceremony is not the only one. So there's other stuff, right? That I've never been through. So that's why your comments are going to be so important with this, because you're also helping me out in understanding other stuff, and it's just it's an incredible. You guys are an incredible community. I love you guys. So to all the new subscribers, by the way, thank you for subscribing to the channel. And so listen, people that are not subscribing that are watching, I was looking at my analytics. All right, Apostate Congregation. I understand that you can't subscribe to the channel for whatever reasons, but good God, that's a lot of you. As today, I got 550 subscribers. Okay. Thank you all. I love you all. Thank you. Welcome to the Apostate Congregation. You are very much welcome here, and I welcome you. Thank you. But there's a lot of you that are not subscribed, that watch on a regular basis, consistently. Okay, the analytics don't lie here, apostates. So please, if you can subscribe, and if you would subscribe, please subscribe, okay? Because the analytics don't lie, all right? And I love it that you're watching, but to get the message out even more, I got to get the subscription rate up as well, because this channel will never be monetized. It's not monetized. So that's how you can support this channel. That's the only way you can support this channel, is by subscribing, liking the videos, watching the videos all the way through, telling your friends about the channel, telling your friends about the books that I talk about on the channel. That's like the most important thing, is the books. The books is what this channel is all about. We praise these authors. So we're praising William Morgan tonight. Okay. Okay, Apostate Congregation, like, share, subscribe, watch the videos all the way through. What else is there? I don't know. Whatever else there is, share the videos. Okay, so comment. All right, let's get into it, Apostate Congregation. We are in deep. Okay, so we are going to go to Kessinger's Legacy reprints, I'm sorry. William Morgan's book, Illustrations of Masonry, by David C. Miller. It's printed by David C. Miller. He is the printer. Okay. So one thing I really want you guys to pay attention to are the names. Pay attention to these names, okay? So we are literally going to walk right through, page by page, this book. The only thing I'm not going to read is this section right here, because it's just the like United States Congress Act of whatever law, right? That's it. Okay, so Illustrations on Masonry by one of the fraternity who has devoted 30 years to the subject. Okay, so that's a thing, because common story was he's a master Mason, and he lies about his entire situation, right? And then it said, okay, so Illustrations of Masonry by one of the fraternity who has devoted 30 years to the subject. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. That's a quote by William Morgan himself. Copyright secured, printed for the proprietor, 1827. 1827, huh? Okay, Captain William Morgan's Exposition of Freemasonry. Now, we must keep in context that we are very specifically talking about speculative Freemasonry. All right, because we've already gone through, we've already know about Bernard. Okay, so we cannot approach this as if we don't know what we're talking about here. We've already read some of these books. We've already gone over them several times. We've made several videos about these books. So as we basically kind of restart here and, just bring it directly to you, we have to take into this stuff, we have to take into context what we already know, right? So we're talking about speculative Freemasonry. Republished with the addition of engravings showing the lodge room, signs, grips, and Masonic emblems. I'll show you the pictures. Let me show you a couple here. All right, here's a few of the handshakes. Okay, and then we'll get into it. Don't worry, we'll get into it. So here we go. Northern District of New York. This is the dedication page. Be it remembered that on this 14th day of August, in the 51st year of independence of the United States of America, AD 1826, William Morgan of the said district hath deposited in this office the title of a book, the right whereof he claimed as author, in the words of the following, to wit. This is the William Morgan quote. Illustrations of Masonry by one of the fraternity who has devoted 30 years to the subject. God said, let there be light, and there was light. By R.R. Lansing, clerk of Northern District of New York. So now we have R.R. Lansing, clerk of the District of New York, and David C. Miller. Okay. Introduction page. Written for the original edition by the publisher, Colonel David C. Miller, Batavia, New York, in the absence of the author, or rather compiler of the following work, who was kidnapped and carried away from the village of Batavia on the 11th day of September, 1826, by a number of Freemasons. It delves upon the publisher to attempt to set forth some of the leading views that govern those who embarked in the undertaking. You have to know the story of William Morgan, so I kind of implore you guys to, do a little bit of research on William Morgan, kind of find out who he is, how he died, what are the different theories, they're all kind of the common theory, but, how he was taken, where he was taken, these are the different, nobody contests that he was murdered or disappeared, but the differences are in the details, which the details are like the most important part of any story, right? So, all right, let's keep reading. To contend with prejudice and to struggle against customs and opinions which superstition, time, and ignorance have hollowed, requires time, patience, and magnanimity. We begin to pull down the strongholds of error, the batteries we leveled against them, through strong and powerful and victorious and last, are at first received with violence. And when in our conquering career we meet with scoffs and revilings from the besieged partisans of untenable positions. I love the descriptions of the way these early 1800s writers, it's just, I don't know, it's almost kind of refreshing in a way to read. It's raw, I don't know, it's raw. The untenable positions. It the more forcibly impresses us we are but men, and that in every work of reformation and renovation we must encounter various difficulties. For a full confirmation of our statement, we might refer to the history of the world. It is not our intention, however, to give a full detail of the whims and caprice of man, to bring forth the historic records of other years as proof of the windings and shiftings of the various characters who have strutted their brief hour on this life stage. This is David C. Miller writing, keep in mind. This is the introduction. In order to conceive that customs, associations, and institutions are like the lives of the authors and abettors, fleeting and fragile. Many of them rise up as bubbles on the ocean and die away. Circumstances give them existence. And when these causes cease to exist, they go into the same gulf of oblivion as countless exploded opinions and tenets have gone before them. The mind that formed and planned them goes on in its dazzling flight, bounding over barrier after barrier till it has arrived at the ultimate goal of consummation. That's kind of powerful right there if you think about that. They come and they go, fleeting as they might. The daily occurrences before us bring forth the full conviction that the emanation from the God of light is gradually ascending to regions of greater intellectual brilliancy. When you read this stuff and you think about like what happens, like later on in years, you kind of follow the history. You think of how tragic this is, right? And just, senseless. And, we'll get into it though. We'll get into it. So let's keep going. How far are we in here? Okay, let's keep going. All right, so one thing I want to point out here, apostates, in this book, you have the introductory page. Okay, you would assume that would be page 1, correct? Well, then you flip the page and it jumps to page 4. And then it goes on, page 5, 6. And they're using the subtractive method of Roman numerals here, right? That's what it's called. Okay, so let's keep going. Page 4, Roman numeral 4. When we view man in the infancy, okay, keep in mind what we're talking about here. Freemasonry, speculative Freemasonry, and the warning against it. That's what this is. William Morgan is releasing these secrets, but through our own personal time, right? This stuff has been so muddied, and so, these historians and these scholars and, but these people never actually just read the book, because everything that they're talking about is legitimately about this book. And so you can read this book and then go read their work, and you can just see how absurd it is. Just legitimately read the book. Okay. So page 4, when we view man in the infancy of society as in the childhood of his existence, his weak, powerless, and defenseless. He is weak, powerless, and defenseless, but in his manhood and riper years, he has grown to his full stature and stands forth in commanding attitude, the favored and acknowledged Lord of the world. For his comfort and well-being as a member of society, rules and regulations are necessary. In the various stages of his progress, these systematic improvements undergo various changes according to circumstances and situations. So they're leading up. So what he's doing right here is leading up into the Masonic order of the levels. In manhood, right? You have different stages of manhood, right? Well, in Masonry, there's different stages of Masonry, and those equate to what he's talking about, right? So what is proper and necessary in one grade of society is wholly useless and may be alarming in another. Opinions and usages that go down in tradition and interfere not with our improvements in society social concerns adhere to us more closely and become entwined in all our feelings. It is to this we owe our bigoted attachment to antiquity. It is this that demands us from a superstitious reverence, that demands from us a superstitious reverence for the opinions and practices of men of former times, meaning the Templars, and closes the ear against truth and binds the eyes to the glare of new lights and new accessions of knowledge, through which medium only can they break in upon the mind. You have to use a medium in magic, right? What are the seer stones? That's a medium, right? The hat, that's a medium. The spectacles, so these are all mediums. The Urim and Thummim, right? These are what in magic what you would call mediums, right? We have within ourselves the knowledge and everywhere around us that proofs that we are being destined not to stand still. In our present state of advancement, we look with pity on the small progress of our fathers in arts and science and social institutions. And when compared with our elevated rank, we have just cause of pride and of grateful feelings. They did well for the times in which they lived, but to the ultimatum of perfectibility, we are near, and in the moments we have before us, of the skill and genius of our times and age. We have only fulfilled these destinies for which we were created. And we object to every obstacle that opposes or attempts to oppose the will of heaven. Freemasonry goes against, they call it the church, right? It's the Church of England, the Orthodox Church. That's what Freemasonry goes against. So whenever you hear the church and they're talking about the church, generally speaking, when they say they're going against the church, they're going, stuff like this, right? There's specific keywords that like let you know they're talking about a different church, right? But anyways, that church is the Orthodox Church of England, right? It's to this day referred to as the church. Okay, so in the present enlightened state to which society has advanced, this is in 26. I lost my place. All right. In the present enlightened state to which society has advanced, we contend that the opinions and tenets and pretended secrecies of old times, in quotes, parentheses, handed down to us should be fully, fairly, and freely canvassed. That from the mist and darkness which have hung over them, they should come out before the open light of day and be subject to the rigid test of candid investigation. Gee, apostates, doesn't that sound like the Mormon church today? And this book was in 1827. Amazing, right? These preliminary remarks lead us to the main object of our introduction. We come to lay before the world the claim of the institution. This is David C. Miller writing. This is still the introduction, okay? Now we're on page 5. This is David C. Miller. We come to lay before the world the claims of an institution which has been sanctioned by ages, venerated for wisdom, exalted for light, but an institution whose benefits have always been overrated and whose continuance is not in the slightest degree necessary. We're talking about the religious institution of Masonry. Okay, this is what we are talking about. The speculative Freemasonry, the 33rd Scottish Rite Masons created a group called speculative Freemasonry that is a religious institution of Masonry. It's a complete separate entity from Freemasonry and the organized Masonic lodges. The speculative Masonic religious institution is what the anti-Masonic movement is all about. The religious institution of Masonry is legitimately what they call it. Solomon Southwick and David Bernard both call it that. We meet it with its high and slide. We meet it with its high requirements, its time-honored customs, in quotations, its swelling titles, and shall show it in its nakedness and simplicity. Strip it of its borrowed tamperings or trappings, strip it from its borrowed trappings in quotations, and it is a mere nothing, a toy not now worthy the notice of a child to sport with. We look back to see it as, at one period, a cement of society and bond of union. These words, you have to pay attention to these words because these words are Masonic, right? The cement union, the cement of society, right? These are Masonic words. They have meaning, right? And especially when they're quotations, right? He's pointing stuff out to you, right? So this is the code that I've talked about in my previous videos, right? Is you have to follow up on these words, right? I keep telling you guys in every video, words matter. You got to pay attention to these words. These are Masonic words. So they're using them they're using the word in context, but a Mason would read this and he would see that and be like, you understand? Okay, so cement of society and bond of union, that's in quotations. We view it as, at one time, a venerable fort, but now in ruins, which contained within its walls many things that dignified and adored human nature. We give it due credit for the services it had done. But at present, when light has gone abroad into the utmost recesses and corners of the world, when information is scattered wide around us, and knowledge is not closeted in the cloisters and cells, but stalks abroad with her beams of light and her honors and rewards. Quotations. Beams of light. Okay, you got to pay attention to these quotations. We may now, when our minority has expired, act up to our character and look no longer to Masonry as our guide and conductor. It has nothing in it now valuable that is not known to every inquiring mind. That sentence right there, when I very first read this book, that sentence right there is what made me think, wait a minute, what do you mean? And I went into an even deeper dive. So I read this book probably 20 years ago, right? And over these times, especially the last like 3 years, I've really dove deep into this book. And so like, which brings up all the other martyrs, all the other literature, and so you can go back and read this stuff. The Jachin and Boaz is a fascinating. So he's right. Why would William Morgan die for this book is my question. If everybody knows this already, what's in this book, then why did they kill him? This is why I think William Morgan is an allegory. I personally do not think William Morgan is a real person. And I don't think Joseph Smith is a real person either. completely. I do not think they are real people. I think they are bridges. They're bridging the gaps from the old from the new, right? So after William Morgan, there's Joseph Smith. Well, old Mormonism dies and new Mormonism begins, right? Joseph Smith is the allegory, right? You can watch my other videos where people can't describe. Nobody can describe the particulars of Joseph Smith. Nobody knows what he looks like. And you can go watch my other videos on Is Joseph Smith a Real Person? The Original Prophet by Fraser Magazine, 1873. You know, so anyways, let's keep going. It contains, wrapped up in its supposed mysteries, no useful truths, no necessary knowledge that has not gone forth to the world through other channels and by other means. If we would have a knowledge of sacred history of the religion and practices of the Jews, and the terms and technicalities of the Mosaic institutions, we can have recourse to the Bible. Let me read that again. If we would have a knowledge of sacred history, what don't we have in Mormonism? Of the religion and practice of the Jews and practices of the Jews. What is in the Book of Mormon? And the terms and technologies of the Mosaic institutions, we can have recourse to the Bible. What is the Book of Mormon? If we wish further communications from heaven, we have open to I'm sorry, apostates. It's just, I'm reading this like with a hindsight, like, okay. If we wish further communication from heaven, we have opened to our view the pages of the New Testament. If we would climb high, ascend of human science, if we would climb the high ascent of human science and trace the mighty progress of human genius in every gigantic effort of mind, in logic, geometry, mathematics, chemistry, and every other branch of knowledge, we ridicule the idea that Masonry, in her retirements, contains the arts and sciences. The sturdiest Mason in the whole fraternity is not bold enough to uphold or maintain the opinion for one moment in sober reality. The origin of the institution is easily traced to the rude ages of the world, to a body of mechanics or a corporation of operative workmen. There's that word operative. Operative workmen. Operative masonry is the masonry of old. Speculative masonry is the masonry of new. Operative masonry is dead. The Templar Masons, it's dead. Okay? The origin of the institution is easily traced to the rude ages of the world, to a body of mechanics or a corporation of operative workmen. Okay? So when you're So workman is a key word here, because when you're referring to the operative Masons, you're using words like stone cutters, things like this. They have a different category of wording. And we'll get into that if this video goes well, which I don't know if it is. If you guys like me just reading this stuff, we'll get into other stuff and we'll go even deeper, because it gets even heavier. So, as we go, this stuff gets deep, deep, deep. I need your guys' comments and your feedback. Tell me, do you want more of this kind of, do you want me to finish? I will definitely finish this book out. And since this is the first video, the first time, it's going to be a little chunky. But as we get going and as I get used to reading out loud, I'm like, this is legit the first time. Well, I guess I read out loud on every episode, but I've never read a book out loud like this before, especially on video on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? So at any rate, this stuff does get extremely deep. So stay with me, like and subscribe to the channel, comment. I need your feedback. We're 46 minutes in. I'm only going to go to an hour, so that's it. And then we'll stop. I'll mark it and we'll pick up on the next video. All right, let's keep going. Like and subscribe. Now I lost my place. Let's see. Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. We give it due credit for the services it has done. Wait, I already read that, right? Vulnerable to the inquiry mind. If we wish further communications from heaven, we already read that. Okay. If we would climb the gigantic chemistry, the root ages, we're getting there. Okay, here we are. The operative workman. Here we go. Back to the operative. Operative Masonry is Masonry of old. Speculative Masonry is Masonry of new. And he's telling you that operative Masonry is dead. Who founded, okay, let me read that over since I went on this weird tangent. So the origin of this institution is easily traced to the root ages of the world, to a body of mechanics or a corporation of operative workmen who formed signs and regulations the more easily to carry on their work and to protect their order. The very obligations solemnly tendered to every member carry the strongest internal evidence of the semi-barbarity that prevailed at the time of the institution of the order. A lot of barbarianism happened, right? With the Templars, the Crusades, all that stuff, right? In the course of time, as society increased and knowledge became more general, it spread, and embracing in its grasps other objects than at first. I wonder what those objects are. It enrolled in its ranks men of the first respectability in wealth, talents, and worth. But that there is anything intrinsically valuable in their signs symbols or words of Masonry. They have their own words, their own dialect, their own, no man of sense will contend that there is not any hidden secret which operates as a talismanic charm Should we just pause there for a minute and say what is the Magic of Solomon? Hidden secret which operates as a talismanic charm on its possessors, every man of intelligence, Mason or no Mason, must candidly acknowledge. I mean, that's pretty explicit right there, right? Okay. It is worse than idleness for the defenders of the order because they're practicing Solomonic magic. At the present day, to entrench themselves behind their outward show, the semblance, right? Is that the semblance before the world? That does say semblance. Resemblance, the resemblance before the world. I think it says resemblance. To show the resemblance before the world, and to say they are in possession of superior knowledge. We pretend not to act undercover. We shall tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, is in parentheses, quotations. Masonry, it is true, has long been eulogized in song. It's over. Masonry's dead. It has formed the burthen of the poet's theme. He's telling you without telling you that Masonry's dead, and been the subject of the orator's best performances. So you're just hearing a history of this stuff. There's no such thing as Freemasonry. It's dead. Fancy has been almost exhausted in bringing out new flowers, right? They're bringing out new flowers. It's in quotations. They're bringing out new flowers to deck the fairy queen. But when we come behind the scenes, what is the picture we behold? Are we to rest satisfied with the epsidites of others, or to examine the truth for ourselves? Wow. The touchstone is before our readers. In the present publication, Masonry is of itself naked and worthless. It consists of gleanings from the Holy Scripture and from the arts and sciences which have shone in the world, linking itself with philosophy and science and religion. On this it rests all its claims to veneration and respect. He's literally telling you about the creation of this religious institution of Masonry. Take away this borrowed aid, and it falls into ruins. Much weight is still attached to the argument that as a tie uniting men that as a significant speech, symbolically speaking every language, and at the same time embodying in its constitution everything that is valuable, it should command respect. We meet this argument with facts that cannot be controverted. We put it on a basis that will fling into the background every quibble and artifice on the subject, and in the language of a polemic writer, we challenge opposition to our position. We are William Morgan, apostate congregations. Like Southwick said, Solomon Southwick said it the best: the ashes of Morgan will rise again, apostate congregation. And here we are. The religion inculcated by the Son of Man does all this. What's our time? Okay, I'm going to stop right there, apostate congregation. We are going to continue on page 7 on the next video. Hit the bell so you know when I come on, get the notification, because I come on at complete random times. So, and I do a lot of posting also on my in the community chats or the community posts. So go through those and read those and like those as well. And that way you can also be alerted when I make those comments and that sort of stuff. So yeah, hit the bell, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know how you liked this. We kind of left it a cliffhanger. The religion inculcated by the Son of Man does all this. Okay, so let me know. Comment. Let me know. This actually gets really heavy. We haven't even got into the actual book yet. So once we get into the actual book itself, your jaws are going to drop. Okay, so yeah. So remember, apostate congregation, like and subscribe to the channel. We are not monetized. We will never be monetized. So it's the holiday season. Any extra cash you got, anything that you're trying to donate to, channels or whatever, go to an elementary school. Go to the poorest school in your neighborhood, in your city, in your town, whatever, and pay some school lunch tabs. Give those kids school lunch. A lot of those kids don't even eat unless they don't have the money. And there's all kinds of excuses and reasons, but F all that. That child is not eating today for whatever reasons. And you were just about to donate $10, $5.99 to my channel. Well, I'm asking you not to, because you can't. I won't accept it anyways. There's not even a way to do it. Go to a school. Give those kids, pay their tab, man, because a lot of those kids don't eat. So anyways, and those kids are our future. So you got to have a healthy mind, a full belly, and that's how you learn. Okay, apostate congregation. Comment. Let me know what you think. Are you even interested in this? Some of you longtime subscribers, longtime viewers, your feedback is greatly appreciated. So, let me know what you guys think. You new subscribers, let me know what you think. Have you ever even heard of this before? Do you know who William Morgan is? Yeah. Thank you, apostate congregation. In the words of the late, great Solomon Southwick, the ashes of Morgan will rise again. And here we are, congregation. We are William Morgan. We are William Morgan. We are bridging that gap. We are connecting the dots from the anti-Masonic movement to the anti-Mormon movement. And there's a lot of dots to connect, lots and lots. So it's not like we have to search long and hard. It's literally all over the place. Just watch my videos, go back, watch any of them, and you'll see that's all we talk about is this era, right? Okay, thank you, apostate congregation, and we will see you on the other side.